Hello, I am C-3PO Human Cyborg Relations. Welcome aboard the Star Speeder 3000.
Sorry for the hold-up, folks. There seems to be a slow-moving train up ahead, so we gotta sit here for a spell.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Presidents of the United States. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mongello, and this is show number 572, and I'm here once again not only to help you have the best possible vacation experience when you go to the Disney parks, but I also want to bring you a little bit of Disney magic wherever you are with the podcast, videos, live broadcasts on Facebook every Wednesday night, books, blog, special events, and more. Whether it's your first time visiting the parks or you've been hundreds of times, if you're planning a vacation or love the history, secrets, details, and stories, there's something here for you, because each week I'm going to take you from the parks to the screens and everything in between. And if you're a new listener, welcome, thank you. Please go back and check out some or all the past episodes for interviews, top 10s, and more. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes and find everything else at WDWRadio.com. The wait is over, and it was so well worth it. Rise of the Resistance opened in Galaxy's Edge in Walt Disney World on December 5th and will open in Disneyland on January 17th, 2020. This week, we react, review, and discuss the attraction just moments after having taken our first ride, with no spoilers, but an in-depth look at the storytelling, technology, emotions, and where this fits among the best of Disney theme park attractions worldwide. I'll then have the answer to our last Walt Disney World trivia question of the week, and I'll pose a new challenge for your chance to win a Galaxy's Edge Disney prize package. Then stay tuned to the end of the show, as I'll have more information about upcoming WDW Radio events, Meets of the Month, Marathon Weekend, your voicemails, and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. Bright suns, literally, from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. We are here for the rise. We are on the riser of the Resistance for Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, a special sneak peek. We have a lot to talk about today in a very special location overlooking the Black Spire Outpost here on a beautiful day in Batuu. The afternoon before, Rise of the Resistance is going to open officially to the public tomorrow morning. Getting that sneak peek was really something special today, a great opportunity. Hi. Of course, I would not do this and be here by myself. And just so you know, I'm going to tread lightly, because as much as I want to share with you everything about Rise of Resistance, I won't do that, because I don't want to spoil for you, because for me, I made a very deliberate choice not to I didn't look at any photos, any videos before I was able to see it with my own eyes. So it might be a slightly spoiler-ish, but not going to be too much. And of course, I could not do this because it's not as much fun if you don't do it without friends and family. So today, because I'm basically Dad of the Year, I said, son, you're not going to school, you're coming to Batuu, so I brought along this guy.
To hold all of his bags.
To hold all my bags, right. He is working, he's been helping me, learning videography duties.
Videography, socializing, architecture.
Yes, a little bit of Imagineering that you might be learning as well. This, of course, is Nicholas Mongello. I made him myself. I had a little bit of help, but I made him all by myself. First things first, how many times did you text me and call me yesterday just begging?
708 times.
That's not even an exaggeration. And I was able to, Disney is a place where dreams come true. Was able
It's
to
truly
take
a magical place.
How excited were you for the opportunity to come here today?
I was jumping for everything. I was so insane yesterday. When I heard, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
So Nicholas, when I don't buy you a car, I want you to remember this moment and the gift
This
that
is
you were
better
giving.
than a car.
I've got that on video, and I am never, ever, ever going to delete it. And of course, you know, when you come to a place like Batuu and you think of Star Wars, you don't just think of scoundrels and Wookiees and Greedos and Ewoks, but there's also, look, no great story doesn't have a princess. And why should today be any different? Because, of course, Princess Becky Mencken just showed up. I don't even know how she got here, but she's right there.
Thank you, Nicholas, for being really nice today.
You literally just pushed Nicholas away.
He's walking. I was trying to hug him.
She literally
I
went,
did not.
Okay, Nicholas, and you're done.
I
We
didn't
have that
on camera.
We have that on
We
video
have that
too.
on video.
Again, some of the amazing things we get to do together. But wait, there's more. Because as much of a Star Wars fan, enthusiast, dare I say nerd, that I am, we needed to take the nerd quotient to a whole different level. And that's why, for the first time, we've done stuff together.
Yes.
It's Ryan Donahoe from the Forcecast, theforce.net, all kinds of Forcey goodness. We can all get in here together.
absolutely.
There's room for everyone.
Come on in.
Short guys
There
in
you
the
go.
front, there you go. Now, by short guys, I mean me.
Let's do the bowling team stand.
No, don't do that. Here, let's turn this way a little bit, just so we don't get that sun directly in everybody's eyes here. There are literally 3 suns here in Batuu, and they are shining brightly today, as they should, because it is a sneak peek at Rise of Resistance. Now, as you know, this is opening here at Walt Disney World first. It doesn't open in Disneyland until January of next year. So things are sort of flipped. You know, Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge opened first. We get Rise first. And so there's been a lot of excitement and buzz, especially here on the Walt Disney World side of things, waiting for this to open. And as I try and explain to my children, my wife, Becky, Brian sometimes too, the best things in life are worth waiting for. And Rise of the Resistance, IMHO, in my humble opinion, as I think what the kids still say, was absolutely worth the wait. So I want to sort of go down the line, and then I'll share my thoughts. So, Nicholas, because I think your excitement quotient was literally like off the charts, past 11 all the way to 12, spoiler free as much as you can be. Share your thoughts, your initial thoughts, and think about that the first time. We've ridden 3 times. Think about the first time you rode Rise of the Resistance, and give us your thoughts.
You can't describe it in words. Like, it feels like my dad kept saying all this time how when he came out of the first Star Wars movie, like, he was changed forever. Like, it was insane. It was crazy. That's what Rise of the Resistance is to me. Like, it's insane. You're in a Star Wars movie. I know you say that about Star Tours and Smuggler's Run, but this, you're really in a Star Wars movie. And when you get off it, you just want to go again and again because, like, oh, how did they do that? How did they do that? Oh my gosh, that's so big. But it's insane. The best Star Wars thing you can do, period, and maybe the best attraction.
That's, so first of all, especially just standing near the Star Wars nerd, saying it's the best Star Wars thing ever, we'll see if that holds to his Star Wars barometer, but I think you hit on a couple of important points. One, the attraction is full of surprises. And I'll go last, but I sat literally mouth agape, and then the first time Becky,
He was
you wrote
almost
it.
in tears.
No, I was in tears. I just tried to hide it from you so you wouldn't think less of me as a man. But fine. There was the scene. Look, we know that there's AT-ATs in there. The first time I saw the bridge of the Star Destroyer, I was silent. I was in a room of 10 people and we was dead silent, and I was not. When I saw the AT-ATs and the way you sort of moved through that room, I cried. The same time the way I saw the Falcon. So your face was the same. I looked over at you, and your mouth was wide open.
I still can't wrap my brain around what we have experienced, and I've only been on it twice now. But there's so many elements. I don't think you could write it 50 times and see everything. I think there's so many different scenes and effects, and it's so hard to put in words without spoiling it.
And where you sit affects what you see. Yeah.
It really does, because there was a point where I was on the edge on one and in the middle on another, and I was able to capture little glimpses of the story in different locations. But the one thing I love, and I know that everyone knows that it's trackless, is that you can't look down and see where you're going next. So it really is a surprise as that car is going to turn or something's going to happen. You don't anticipate it, which makes it even more fun and exhilarating.
Right. I think that's one of the things, I think we talked about that in places like Mystic Manor, even like Winnie the Pooh. When it is a trackless system, it's unlike some of the other earlier Walt Disney World or Disneyland attractions where you sort of know where you're going to be progressing through the room next, right? The Imagineers are producers and directors by sort of guiding where your vision needs to go. Here, it really happens in 360 degrees around you, and it's again, without spoiling, it's a multi-sensory experience as well.
Yeah, I said this, and Nicholas said it, and I agree with him. If you could pick one Star Wars experience to do one more time for the rest of your life, it's this. This is the greatest Star Wars thing I've ever done. I talk about it every week. I've seen every movie, every cartoon episode. I've been on every ride. What they accomplished here is unlike anything else. If the goal of Batu, Galaxy's Edge, Star Tours, any of it is to put you into Star Wars, even more than this land, even more than Smuggler's Run, they take you into Star Wars, into a Star Wars movie. Everywhere you look, there's action, there's a clear story, characters, effects. I've just got to say that I couldn't believe the first time. We kept hearing about it. They've shown us little sneak peeks, but nothing prepared me for this morning when I got off, and I just couldn't believe that. I think everyone agrees. You just can't believe what you saw, and it's a good length enough to where it feels like you're on a journey, and not a journey to Grandma's house where you wonder when it's over. This is a journey. It's like going through a movie. It's going through a 25-minute movie.
And it's a 3-act play. I mean, there are multiple. There's levels to the experience too. I think the queue sort of helps to set the stage, and then look, even again without giving it away, but when you see Rey in the queue, there's that how do they do that kind of moment.
Yeah.
The second scene, the second act, when you journey to the bridge of the Star Destroyer, that can be an attraction in and of itself. And having ridden it 3 times, I was looking forward one time, I was looking back another, I was sort of my head on a swivel a third
you
time.
Look up and you'll see stuff like.
And then when you get to the bridge of the Star Destroyer, what I love is that you set your own pace. You are not sort of rushed. You can spend as much or as little time on the bridge as you will like. And I'll tell you, the first time you're there, there they go. The first time you're there, you're going to want to spend some time. And then there's that third act, the actual ride, which is it felt like it took a very long time. I saw Brian and I think a few other people asked about the drop. The drop is almost a bit of a misnomer, right? If you're thinking Tower of Terror, if you're thinking Guardians of the Galaxy, it's not at all. It's more like you sort of fell off your seat. Like it's a very, very short, a very inconsequential drop. And I say that being considerate of people that may have motion sensitivity issues at all. That is really not an issue at all.
It's not. This is one of those rides that don't be scared of that. Don't think that, oh my gosh, I can't ride Tower of Terror, so I can't do this. Nothing near it. The one thing I am very impressed with too, from a non-spoiler perspective, is that you don't have to be a huge Star Wars geek to really enjoy this attraction, because you know the story. You don't even have to probably have seen a movie to much about the story to enjoy the attraction, because all of it's and all the effects are going on around you. You're gonna really get into the attraction if you know anything about Star Wars or not.
Yeah, that's the thing. As Disney fans, we all know the different categories of rides, right? Some people say a screen ride, a dark ride, just a walk-through attraction. This is literally all of that into one. Every Disney attraction that you can think of, they put an element of it in this, where yes, there are some screen elements. Yes, it is like a dark ride at times because you're moving slowly through a set as you look around. There's thrills in the you mentioned the drop. A lot of times when you have a drop, attractions will lead up to it. The drop is the payoff. Here, it's a drop and then you're on to the next thing. So it's if you're scared of drops, or there's thrills where you're definitely thrilled and you're having a great time and it's an adventure, but you sort of get everything you could ever want in a Disney attraction. When Lou and I talked about it, I said, I honestly don't know where they go from here. Yeah. How do they top this? It's hard to put into words, but I just still cannot believe what I saw. I'm going to keep telling everybody.
And the details, some of the details, so you talked about seeing some characters on that are projections, but the details matter. So I noticed the second time I wrote it, there is what appears to be a screen of some of the bad guys. It's Kylo Ren. But you see their shadows up on the walls and the ceiling because the light that would be behind them is projected. So the fact that they were so cognizant to make you sort of suspend your disbelief, and then even in that room, how you progress from scene to scene is
insane.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. And you walk in that room for the first time and you don't know how that transition is going to take place.
You could be sitting there and then just out of nowhere, it'll just open up your leg.
And there's some attractions where you've got that one moment that the oxygen comes out of the room. In this one, I think there's like 4 or 5 where you just cannot believe what you're seeing and experiencing.
We were talking earlier about, where does this rank in terms of Disney theme park attractions, and Shanghai Pirates came up, and Mystic Manor and some of the other groundbreaking attraction comes up. I think about that AT-AT room, and again, I don't want to give anything away because I want you to be surprised, and where you sit will affect what happens in there, but it is remarkable how, I want to say this delicately, how the attraction takes place. When I say in three dimensions, I don't just mean that there's a sort of a building facade, that there's a flat facade. I mean, you sort of travel through the attraction both horizontally as well as vertically, and that was the are you kidding me moment when it happened.
It's insane. Some of the effects that they pull off in there are
technology.
Yeah.
And you think the technology in this is good? Just wait until Avengers Campus.
Right, so that's what we started talking about, right? Is you said, where do they go next?
Yeah. And
that's what we said when they opened up Flight of Passage, right? Where do they go next? Well, they go to here. Where is this technology? And it's not even the technology that does it. It's a story. It's the way the storytelling is done that makes this attraction remarkable. Again, even if you don't have a connection to Star Wars, much the same way I don't have a connection to Pandora and what's it called, Avatar.
Exactly.
Wherever you are in your sort of Force fandom, you will enjoy this attraction.
The best way I can describe it is if they were to if the director, so J.J. Abrams in Episode 9, if he wanted the best way for you to experience his movie, he would pick you up and he would just place you in the movie and allow you to experience it that way. That's exactly what happens here. They pick you up, they place you in a Star Wars movie, and Lou mentioned it, where the way that the vehicle moves, there's sort of a director where they're directing and say, okay, here's this scene. The best part, and Becky mentioned like taking your breath away, is one of the best parts of the attraction is the reveals. So when you get revealed to the Star Destroyer hangar, as soon as it opens, you just can't breathe. When you get revealed to the AT-AT room, I'm not going to spoil how you get to all these, but there are multiple rooms and experiences where they sort of, it's not long, but they just have this little bit of anticipation building as you start to see a door open, or you start to see an effect that's going to lead you to the next scene. You're sort of on the edge of your seat, your eyes get big, and then it's silent. They do it very silently when they bring you into rooms. Because there's Star Wars music, there's blasters, there's lightsabers, there's all sorts of action, but in the reveal moments, they make it nice and quiet. So as you're pulling in, you just cannot believe what you're looking at. And you want to ride it 100 times, because every time I'm riding, I'm like, all right, I'm going to focus on this, and this, and this, and there's still more. I've been on it 4 times, still more that I have not seen, and it just has to be experienced. I don't think a ride video or any sort of video is going to do it justice. It's insane.
Not watch ride videos, except when I post mine. Then watch it and share it everywhere. But
this is definitely one of those that you
Yeah.
have to experience with your
Do not.
own eyes. And
Don't
your own
spoil the
senses.
end game. Wrong.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil
And
it.
the other thing too, we were talking about sort of the storytelling, the manner of the storytelling. They do it by combining all of the storytelling attraction elements. So it is part walkthrough attraction, it's part classic dark ride attraction, it's part thrill ride. And again,
It's everything.
And when I say thrill ride, it is not even near a Tower of Terror type of drop or effect. I think what they wanted to do with this attraction was make it accessible. And I mean accessible not just in terms of guests who can board and ride, but guests who are or maybe not too familiar with the Star Wars franchise. Look, I've said all the time that the last few movies, my fandom has somewhat declined a little bit. You ride Rise of the Resistance, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, you're back in, you're all in once again, and you don't need to know, you know who the good guys are, you know who the bad guys are. You're able to enjoy it, even on sort of that base level.
Yeah, there is no prior knowledge. The way they lay out the story of the attraction, I think is close to unlike any other, because a lot of them, there's still, an ambiguous part of it where you have to kind of know a little bit more. Okay, the Imagineers, there's always a story to stuff, even if you don't know. Lou always talks about there's no book of Imagineering, but this one, they lay the story out so well for those who could be 85 and have never seen a Star Wars movie, or 5 and have never seen a Star Wars movie. Here's the good guys, here's the bad guys, and here's a thrilling mission that anyone can enjoy, whether you're a Star Wars fan or not. If you're just a Disney Parks fan, especially if you're a fan of Imagineering and Disney taking it to the next level, this is, and we talk about Avengers Campus, I would like to see what they could possibly do, because this is one of those things where I think we might be looking at the future of storytelling. I think this could be a way for Disney to start telling stories where it's a movie, it's a confined story, but it's in 360 degrees, and you're on a movie set, basically. But it's not, the movie set is, like Lou said, there's a lot of those are facades. A lot of those, you turn around behind it and there's nothing there. We were looking in the queue for a facade. We were looking, can we see any wires? Can we see anything that looks, you couldn't find anything. Everything is fully fleshed out and built, and everywhere you look, every cast member's in character.
Yeah.
Every wall is fully built out. Every light is on. Everything looks like, you cannot look anywhere in the attraction once you start and see anything that makes you believe that you're not actually in the story.
Well, that's Galaxy's Edge itself, right? You walk through that portal and you literally are transported off planet. So Star Wars doesn't exist here, right? Cast members don't exist here. Everyone here has a story, right? We talked to somebody today who grew up on Batuu, and she had her whole backstory. That attraction does that same way. There is no sort of moment when I'm now on the attraction, I'm now in a theme park. No, when you're in Galaxy's Edge, you are immersed, you are completely sort of enveloped in the Star Wars
Galaxy's Edge
bubble.
is like an attraction in and of itself.
Right, and we say that the land clearly is the attraction. I mean, this is just sort of the icing on a oh so very delicious cake, by the way.
It's amazing. Well, I think that the way that the cast members are interacting with people really puts you into that story as well. I mean, you're not just going through it, you are part of that story. And again, not to spoil anything, but you really become part of that story that can become intimidating at some points.
That's what I was going to say. I thought Becky was going to have to save Lou from the First Order at one point, because Lou had just asked a simple question, and the First Order officer wasn't having any of it. Sort of got into his face a little bit.
I've learned a few tricks to talk to Lou now.
So what I found out is there is no mess hall on the Star Destroyer. They don't want you asking. I mean, that wasn't my question, but Nicholas, what were you going to say? So the other thing I felt too was, I think they did it was very smart in terms of the ride vehicle itself. So the ride vehicle has, it's sort of there's 4 person per row, there's 2 rows, so there's 8 people per vehicle that the vehicles sort of come together and split apart. And you have an R5 unit who is sort of your pilot taking you through the attraction. I never felt, I don't know how to describe it. I felt like I was the only person in that car, that the story was happening only for me, that it was a first-person perspective, until I sort of drew my eyes just to see how they were reacting. And I love that sort of sensation that while it was happening, in 100, well, nearly 270 degrees that I could sort of see from the periphery at once, all I saw was sort of me in that experience. Does that make any sense to
Yes.
you? As opposed
Absolutely.
to riding in the Great Movie Ride, or where you're surrounded by people, you are living your personal Star Wars story.
Well, I'll give you an example. Both Star Tours and Smuggler's Run can be very dependent on the folks that you're with.
Right.
Star Tours holds 40 people, and everyone's screaming at everything. The music and the audio is unlike any other because it plays. John Williams is playing your ride out, but also, like Lou said, nobody else can affect what I'm doing. Like I don't, somebody can be screaming or yelling or gasping, but you don't really hear it. It's that's what makes you feel like this is the most immersive. Is a fun word that we like to use when talking about Disney, but I cannot name anything else that is as immersive as this because there's always something you can say.
Right.
I don't have anything where I can say, well, but if there is no but if here.
And I like the way that they played with sound, because it's not like you do get music at some points, but some points it's not. You get silence to build up the anticipation
Just
of what's
like
going
the
to be around
sounds
the corner.
of what's happening,
Yeah.
like blaster sounds.
So it
or,
feels real. It doesn't feel like you're in an attraction
or like
or to be
Buster
entertained.
Droid like screaming because you got shot at.
Right. But so you mentioned the blasters, like how there is blaster fire that takes place in that attraction, and you're like, what did I just
It
see?
affects the stuff around you. You see the mark, like there was no mark there before. You look back and
There's no CGI going on there.
No.
It's
They can't CGI that.
again, it's not so much so that it's dependent on new technology as it is. Look, the core of what Disney does, I'm going to keep going back to this, is the way they are able to tell a story and to emotionally bring you into it, right? Look, it's not the first time I've walked onto a Disney attraction and I became emotional. I became emotional the first time I saw the Falcon because I was 9-year-old Lou Mongello. I said it to you when we were talking earlier. By the way, you have to go and download this podcast because it's really awesome. It's the Forcecast. We were talking earlier. When I saw the AT-AT room, this is going to sound stupid. Like, for a minute, like, it was all frozen for me. I'm going to cry again. And it's 1980, and I'm laying on the floor in my basement with my brother, and we have our AT-AT walkers and our snow troopers, and I'm laying down because I want to sort of look, like from the perspective of the action figures, and I'm living out that adventure like I'm Luke Skywalker, and that's sort of what I felt. I was like, oh, like, I'm here, and dude, when we say that they're real those are full-size AT-AT walkers. It's not projections, it's not a screen. Like, you are in a room with two giant metal donkeys.
And they're yes. Our balloon was much smaller, apparently.
And so basically there are, like many attractions, when you queue, they'll ask how many people are in your party, and you'll be assigned to a certain color on the ground. It's blue, white, orange, and red. You are not able to choose which is which, but I will tell you that white is the front row in the second car. If you get blue,
You're very lucky.
Yahtzee! But there's no bad seat in the house because, again, there's no specific direction you're supposed to be looking in. I found that sometimes not looking where you're supposed to look affords you the opportunity to find, like, so you told us, make sure you go and look over here.
That's it. So when we talk about immersion and things to see and you catch something different every time, I come off the attraction and here is Lou and Becky and Nicholas, and immediately they're like this, don't tell me anything, don't tell me anything. But I was trying to find a way to be spoiler free, to just point, I had been on twice at that point, to point things out that you don't want to miss. But I was trying to think of a list, but there's so much that there is no real list. You want to be able to tell, well, make sure you look here, and there's this. I mean, there are full-sized, amazing audio animatronics that, in general, would be a highlight of an attraction that are just sort of tucked away that if you're not looking, the first time I saw it, I thought it was the actor. I thought, they got him to come here for this weekend? But it's hidden away. If you're not looking at the right spot, that's because you're looking at a full-size AT-AT, or a blaster, or a full-size Kylo Ren, or whatever. It's got everything in a Disney attraction. Everything's been building to this, I think, from 1955. I think if Walt were here, I think he would say, we finally made a chance to go to the movies, and there is no holes in this. You are in a movie, and I think that's what this is to me. I don't know if Walt would like Star Wars, but I know if Walt Disney went on this today, he would say, when I was sitting on that bench in 1955 or in the 50s, this is what I was talking about, and it's crazy.
I mean, look, even walking through the queue, right? So walking through the queue, like the rest of this land, everything speaks. And there was a moment that we were walking through, and there's a long tunnel that you can see was sort of bored out from the rock, right? And it's very, it's meant to sort of look dirty and aged and very just sort of gritty. And that's the word I keep using to describe episode 4, which is still my favorite of all of them because there's that gritty feel to it. I felt that this track, that queue even, like it's been there forever. Right, and there's not. Again, I don't want to give a lot away, but there's not a lot of like interactive elements in the queue. But I was just sort of fascinated, like touching things and looking around, and then trying to find some of those details as you get through to the Armory and some of the other locations as well.
One thing I wanted to say is that the animatronic is usually like the big highlight of the ride. Like at the end of Navi River Journey, it's that amazing animatronic. At the end of what's another one?
Indiana Jones.
That Indiana Jones animatronic, like all that stuff. In Rise of the Resistance, they're everywhere. There's like Kylo Ren's, there's like all these different people, and like it shows you the scale of this attraction. Like there's not just one, there's 12. There's
like, understand what I mean when I say this. If you think about the attraction, tell me that if you wouldn't have gone onto the shuttle and then landed on the bridge of the Star Destroyer and walked around there and watched those stormtroopers and saw that TIE fighter, if that was the end of the attraction, I would have left satisfied.
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh my God, this is blanking awesome, because it is. And then the fact that there's something else through that next door, and the fact that the princess is literally waving to people below her.
Yeah.
This is such a Becky moment. It's not even funny. But yeah, like, because even that would have been enough for us, right?
Yeah.
Because you talk about sort of stepping onto a Star Wars stage, a Star Wars set. That was even better, right? And we know, the troopers move, right? And there's stuff going on screen, and lest we forget the live actors that are there, because the cast members are very much active participants and part of the storytelling that you can engage as much or as little as you like. Trust me, the Resistance folks are going to act like Resistance folks. Those First Order people are not very friendly and funny.
There's a new role that I think I want someday, because that was really cool.
The Emperor is coming back in Rise of Skywalker, so that one's taken already. Emperor's. But right, I mean, even just the way that you play off them.
Well, they take the most mundane parts that we all know have to happen. You have to load, you have to check your seatbelts, you have to all hands and feet inside but they make it a story where they're ushering, hurry, we're there's a story happening. Get into your vehicle, let's go. And then as they are doing their buttons that we know they're pushing, there's a story behind it. They've reprogrammed your pilot droid. They've all have something to say. Lou requested, let's get on the blue one this time. The First Order wasn't having any of it. Like, sir, we don't take requests here. You're a prisoner. What do you think's happening here? That's what Galaxy's Edge is, though. We talked about this at Star Wars Celebration when they announced the Coke. The things that they can't get away with, right? You have to order a Coke. They can't create a space soda. Well, they turned Coke into a thermal detonator. Here, the most mundane, you have to board, you have to buckle your seatbelt, they have to push the buttons, but they turn it into a story.
Yeah, well, they did when I sat down and buckled in, and she was like, "Have you met the droid? Okay, so the droid's going to get you out of here." I mean, they were really into it, even from the safety check, like you're saying.
Yeah, and that's something that hasn't gone away, even as we were walking through the land before. I mean, this land's been open for a while. That still permeates every cast member, every character, everything that you interact with. And again, we'll sort of keep going back to that word. We haven't even talked about how you can use your phone and interact with these attractions. We saw in the queue there's going to be some of those codes. We have to go back with the Play Disney Parks app and
They
scan
could
some of those
scan,
codes
and then you'll be able to play
to see
games.
what happens. Because I think that's the idea, is that the queue itself does not have to have interactive elements built into the walls. Now in our data pads, we're able to sort of enhance and deepen that story as much or as little as we like.
Yeah, to go back to a really quick point when you were talking about all the stormtroopers on the deck, there was so much movement. It wasn't like a whole bunch of stormtroopers. There's enough movement, subtle movement. And I was really wondering if one of them was a person in there and they were going to walk up to me and tell me to back off or to, get away from things. Wow, seriously.
She just said blow me kisses, so I blow her kisses.
So it's so well done, and the movements are just subtle. Like if you were in a military line and watching everybody, and people are going to shift, or they're going to move their head a little bit, or move their hands, and
you almost expect one to take a step forward.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of it, is that there are live actors, and so when you see these stormtroopers, you just don't know what's what, and that's the best compliment that I think you could pay to these people. It's just I recently became a local, so once you get local, waiting is not a thing you do very often. When you see a 2-hour line, you just keep on. The biggest compliment I think I can pay is not that it's the greatest Star Wars experience I've had. It's so immersive. It's that I don't really care what the line is. You need to experience this if you're here, because you will be missing out on, to me, the greatest attraction Disney has ever done.
And I was going to ask you, and this is a hard question for us to answer, and in the interest of full candor and disclosure, we were invited to be here the day before it opens. I understand and I acknowledge and appreciate that the experience that we had today is not going to be the same as the everyday guest experience. The lines starting at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. I know some of you are going to be there at 4:15. You're yanking your little kids out of school to come do it. It's going to be worth it. I understand it's different, but by the same token, we've talked about, as locals, as frequent visitors, would we be willing to come back and wait? And if so, where do we sort of sit? What is that number that we think is, if we see that the number is 3 hours and we've got friends in town who've never ridden, yes, it sounds like a huge chunk out of your day, but I said at the very beginning, some things are worth waiting for, and I think this attraction, like Flight of Passage, is one that's worth waiting for.
Yeah, I would never tell anybody how to spend their day. If you come here once, if it's 3 hours, that's a good quarter of a day that you're doing. But this is something that I think is a once in a lifetime, if you come here just every 5 or 10 years, experience that I don't know everybody, but I think it would be a highlight of your vacation. I think, Nicholas is 14, Lou's 24, Becky's 21, I'm 27. It's the age spectrum. I think young, old, when you're leaving, whether it's on the Magical Express or on the drive home, I think this will be the thing you're talking about. I think it'll be this attraction.
Yeah, and I think there's a strategy to it too as well. So you get a whole bunch of your best friends and your family and take on the queue. And if we've got some of the stuff from the data pads, you can play through the queue or just visit when you're standing there. I mean, we had to wait for a little while before we got on, and the amount of time, of course, wasn't 6 hours, but the anticipation of riding the ride and having this experience and all of us being together and talking about other things, it went relatively fast.
And seeing the world around, just seeing even the hallways, just how well themed it is and how everything looks and how everything feels.
We were all doing that. We all did it. We would be standing in the queue and we'd be touching the walls, right? We'd be touching the lights. We'd be trying to, does this button actually do something? Is it actually a button that you can depress and will the lights change? And I think after you've ridden it once and you get back in the queue again, because that's going to be the instinctual, actions to go ride again, you're going to have a lot to talk about.
That's the thing. I think this wait will feel more rewarding because of the length and the multiple experiences. Sometimes it is really tough to wait 180 minutes for Mine Train, and then
that's exactly what I was thinking.
38 seconds later, you're getting off, and you're like, well, it was awesome, but I just spent 2 hours in a queue. For this one, even some of the waiting, once the attraction technically begins, there is more waiting, but it's a story. It's rewarding, and it's such a long experience. You feel like I think you'll get a reward for the time that you spent, and the queue isn't boring. It's not, it's not just rocks. There are things to look at, and there's an anticipation about it from the very beginning all the way until even after the majority of it is over and you're heading to the exit. There's still more to look at. It's still a fully realized set with an animatronic at the end. Like there is, it just keeps going. You just think, okay, well now, once this part's over, okay, now it's over. You kind of sit back and relax. The doors open again, and you're like, wait a second, I gotta get back up. It's not over yet. It is worth your time, relatively speaking, but it's worth your time. Multiple hours. I think the reward you get back is well worth it.
It's the payoff. It's about the payoff. And I think, as you were saying that too, we talk about sort of the length of attractions, right? And how long is the actual ride? This ride doesn't begin when you sit down and buckle in and start moving through. It doesn't begin as you step onto the Star Destroyer. I don't even think it begins as you board the transport that gets you to the Star Destroyer or even get in the queue. I think this attraction begins right there. Because as you approach that gun, that sort of that turret gun on the outside, that's when it starts, right? Oh, you're going to see the backside of water, too. There's a backside of water moment there. But I think the queue begins, and your adventure begins. I mean, we were even doing it a little bit. As you start to, if you want to, engage the cast members outside, you ask them a simple kind of leading question. They will help sort of set the stage in terms of what's going on. And the way they respond in terms of, are you here to join the resistance? Are you a first order spy? And that's a very bad example of how they would engage. But the fact that they engage makes this a very lengthy attraction in terms of how long your experience is from beginning to end.
You're in a show. You're in a movie. You're in a story that has to be told from the moment that you step on stage to the moment you exit.
Yeah.
It really is well done. And thinking about this in particular, I wanted to step forward a second because after seeing what we've seen in there now and what we know of the hotel coming, that makes me anticipate what could possibly happen with that tied in with the technology we just saw.
Well, speaking of that, part of the hotel experience is that they are going to transport you, and they showed us this, and it's out there now, the concept art of how you're going to arrive at this starship, and how they're going to take you from Earth to space. And I think we got to see a little bit of that technology on this attraction.
That's why I'm so excited.
Because they are transporting you from the ground, Batuu, into space in the Star Wars universe, and they have to be able to make that believable, and they did.
Yeah.
Like I said, even and this would be considered waiting on any other attraction until you sit down in the ride vehicle, but in this, it's a story. They're taking you to space, and I buy it. I believe it, because even the way that you get off of that, everybody thinks they're going to go out this certain door, but you go back out the door that you came in, and everyone's looking this way because they're used to Disney attractions, and then all of a sudden the door opens up, you turn around, a first order officer is there to greet you.
And I think greet is a bit of a stretch. Yeah.
He's there to welcome you to prison.
Well, welcome
More
is
like threaten you.
I mean, look, even for the Star Wars, the Starliner Hotel, the same thing happens. Your adventure begins not when you check in at the porte cochere. Like, that's when you're in. Your car goes away, your Uber, your bus, your whatever. I was going to say something really mean, but I won't. Your whatever goes away. Your room goes away. But, sorry. It goes away. You enter that porte cochere and your adventure has begun.
Yeah.
That's what happens here when you walk through that portal to get here. Same thing even on a smaller scale on each of the individual attractions.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Once you get on that transport to take you to space, you do not see anything else to make you believe that you're not in space until you've arrived back. And even then, they make it known that you've now arrived back on the ground with the set that they've built to exit the ride. So it's
so believable.
They thought of, and they always think of everything, but as time goes on, you start to realize where holes can be poked. I would like to see 10 years from now where anyone can say, well, it's an amazing attraction, but the technology wasn't there for this, that. I don't know what else. Short of creating humans and placing them into, into attractions, I guess we'll see coming up.
It has a very weird sort of black hole feel to it, but I see what you mean. Go ahead.
They had one scenario where they had an animatronic that we could see, and yet it was also on the screen.
Yeah.
So I was watching to see when its head turned if the screen was responding, and they came down to every single detail. I mean, the moment that animatronic moved even that much, it moved that much on the other thing you're watching. So again, it sucked me in, and I was part of that story.
Again, the details. Again, a silly thing, not silly, but if you saw that it wasn't there, you'd notice it.
Yeah.
The shadow, I was like, oh, they made a shadow on the ceiling because the way the light would be hitting them from behind would go up. So, and there's also, like, when I approach an attraction, I do it as a fan, as an enthusiast, as the 9-year-old kid, as somebody who wants to convey to you what this is like and sort of tell you, listen, keep it down, stormtroopers, I'm working up here. But I also sometimes think about it from a much more practical business marketing level. And what they do, again, is because of the way the attraction makes you feel. Tell me, and you don't exit into a gift shop per se, tell me you didn't, you did. He walked off and said, can we go build a droid? Like, I need to, you want to bring it home with you.
You just want to take the droid right out of the ride vehicle.
You
and
do.
Like,
I
"You're
hugged
right
him.
now."
I hugged the little droid. What was his name? BB? No.
R5?
R5.
Something.
Yeah,
Whatever they are. Like, I gave him a hug. I was like, thank you. Like, I loved it. And now I did. Like, I was like, oh, I want to get a little, like, black R5 unit because you want to sort of bring it with you.
Endorphins
And now
are
they're going to
moving.
come out with a vehicle that you can put your droid into, and now it's going to
Oh,
drive
just
around
do
in
it.
that.
Here. Just take all my money, Disney. Just,
Just take my wallet.
Yeah, this is the best commercial for Galaxy's Edge, this attraction. Because it's the first thing you pass once you walk through if you walk through the main gates. This is the attraction you first pass. So if you flesh out the land that way and go as you meet, you start with this and then you end with the Falcon. This land is a dream fully realized. And I said this, I had Nicholas on the show, and I said that, Lou, you've been going since what, opening day, somewhere around there? You have that attraction you remember as a kid when you went, right? What was it, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, something? I think for kids that are going, that are ages 5 through 10 or even older, this is their first trip to Walt Disney World. I think when they're 28, like Lou is, they'll be telling their kids and their grandkids one day that this is the ride that I went that really defined what Disney was for me. And it's not, it's Star Wars, it is Disney now, but it is an attraction that, whether you're a Star Wars fan or not, you're going to feel like, Dad, remember when I was 5, 6, 7 years old and they took us to space? That's what, to me, I can just see a generation of children coming to Disney World for the first time, or Disneyland when it opens, and this will be the attraction that defines it.
Memories will be made.
well, I think to that point, I think what Disney has done, and maybe my timing is off, you would know better, but maybe even since the acquisition of Lucasfilm and Star Wars, is, again, I think I'm probably not the only one who may have started to feel a little bit more distant from the franchise that I grew up with. Look, Mom, Dad, thank you for all my toys. Like, I grew up surrounded by, I had everything that Kenner made. Like, if they made it, I bought it or I ordered it to have it, when you just have to, like, send them the box. Send them in the mail. Like, I had it. I lived in the Star Wars world, and then I got away from it. And I think what Disney's been able to do is touch on the nostalgia and the heartstrings of the original fans, create a new generation of fans, and then as opposed to being, there's the Clone Wars people and there's the original trilogy people, I guess there's 1 or 2 people that like the second trilogy, I don't know, but
There's
they're able...
1 or 2 people that like The Last Jedi out there.
No, let's not get silly. But I think they're able... No, I'm kidding. But there are some people they're able to bring them all together in this land, and I think even more so in the attraction.
Yeah, and that's kind of what was brilliant about coming up with Batuu, because it didn't belong to any specific genre in the patent. So it's very cool to be able to walk in and create your own story with the cast members who created their own backstory. And again, I think you're really missing out, just to both of your points, that when you come in here and you walk through the gates, you're transported here, treat the cast members like an attraction themselves and take time out of your day to stop and talk with them and ask their story. I think that they are just as much of an attraction as the things that we ride.
Well, I think one of the things that this land does is it empowers the cast members to not only craft their own story, but really sort of expand on it and interact with us as much or as little as we want to with them. And I think for a lot of the cast members, that's a gift, right? Because I think a lot of them want to be actors. They want to be performers. This affords them the opportunity to do that, not with the scripted. Look, being a Jungle Cruise skipper is probably great, but you have a scripted story you have to tell. Here, you're literally choosing your own costume every day. I'm going to choose the costume that feels right for me that day. I'm going to embellish my story as much or as little as I want to.
I think watching you deal with the First Order lady was probably one of the most fascinating, awesome things I've ever witnessed in my entire existence.
It went from funny to scary very, very quickly for me.
You were literally a little frightened.
A little thrown off.
Yes.
I was afraid. I was a little afraid. She was very
Because you
intimidating.
expect, like, cast members to be like, oh yeah, we'll see if we can make that happen. She was like,
She
you
didn't let
can't
up.
do
No.
that. Like,
Like she got in my face and she gave me one of those things.
You even tried these are not the guests you're looking for or something. It didn't
The
work.
force, I am not force strong. My midichlorian. I need a
force ran out
midichlorian
of
shake.
battery.
I need a midichlorian shake if they have one in the Ronto's Roaster somewhere.
I did see a question from Jennifer on there about are there
Thank
any,
God one of us can see the questions because I
I'm reading.
can't. Thank you.
I got perfect eyesight here. Are there any claustrophobic moments on the attraction? And I'm trying to go. The only thing I can think of.
I am a claustrophobic. He will tell you I hate enclosed spaces. I hate places where you're completely. There's one point where you're just in a room, but you're going to get out of the room. Other than that, that was the only place that I was thinking, how would I get out of here if I needed to? Don't worry, you get out of that room.
And the way you get out is
oh my God.
There's one room that is the smallest room that you go into, but they don't load it full of people. So
No.
Right.
the Haunted
No.
Mansion, when you're about to go in the
Yeah.
stretch, they make sure every single
If
guest.
you can handle the stretching room, this is
This
easy.
is
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't load the
Yeah.
room. That's the thing. They don't tell you to go all the way in. They don't say a word. The door's just open and they say remember your color.
there's
Go in.
maybe a dozen. Oh, there's maybe a dozen people in there.
10
You don't
people.
have to. So
Yeah.
the smallest room they don't
When you
pack.
have-
There's 16
No,
people.
16, yeah,
There's
so
16
that's-
people.
that's
Right,
16
So
right. There's
it
16 people in that
never
room.
hit me. My huge claustrophobic fear never hit me one time.
Yeah.
Neither did a motion sense thing for me, which I've got a little bit of that too.
So Michelle just asked about motion sickness.
It's
No.
so smooth.
Yeah.
No, and
So smooth.
You're not jerked around at all.
No.
You're not spun anywhere. The drop, I think, is more of a protective thing to say that
Because
there
we're
is
just
no
like
drop.
a-
Yeah, I mean
It's even smooth, right? Yeah.
It's not like Tower Terror was like,
Yeah, I mean the drop again is more like you fell off your couch. Like it's like 2 feet is what it felt like. Almost that I wanted more. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like I really want to feel like I'm dropping, but it's not.
The only thing I don't see motion sickness being an issue. Height is 40 inches for those of you who
Yes!
are so. Who was able to go on?
ride built
Height's
for
40
us.
inches, and I have a 3-year-old. He's 40 inches tall. So you're looking at, am I going to take the 3-year-old on it? As far as scare factor, I would probably say 4 to 5 is probably the youngest that I would do because there is a lot of explosions and it could get a little loud. Not very loud, but a little loud. There's a lot of flashing lights. So, but as far as any sort of thing that would hold you back from a normal attraction, it's very smooth. It's not slow, but it's methodical in the way that you experience it. So I don't think, really, I can't think of anything. I'm not sure how they load wheelchairs and those sort of things. I haven't seen anybody.
But there's no, I didn't see any sort of strobe lights. The only sort of 4D effect is really kind of a wind effect, which is awesome, by the way.
my
Like,
God.
No spoilers.
I don't want to say what it is, but wow.
Again, it's another one of those moments when the air came out of the room,
And
and
don't
we were
because-
like, because
How
when
many?
Chewbacca's family comes from the holiday special.
Oh, Nicholas, you ruined it.
the
That's
best
really what this
Here, I'll
is.
turn this off.
It's
Yeah.
Star Wars Holiday Special makes him like twitch a little bit when you say that. But there were so many times during the attraction that I expected it to be over, and it wasn't. Like I thought, oh, this is it. This is the climax, and then there was another room. There was another scene. There was another sort of surprise.
Well, saying to that, where we've all seen some of the teasers that have come out about it, right?
I haven't.
And then had that big, huge room with all the stormtroopers that we've all seen the pictures of. I assumed that was the climax of the attraction, but no. And like you said, every moment you think it's just about over, all of a sudden there's something else that happens that takes your attention over here, and
It does not end until
No.
you, even, I was going to say unbuckle the seatbelt, but even then, until you can, but it doesn't end because then you're on Batu. So it's
Yeah.
weird. It's like, there isn't a moment where it's like, okay, there's no ending to this until you walk out of Batu. There is
Even
no
the
ending.
unload area is cool, man.
Yeah.
It is.
Like the way you unload, and I don't want to give it away, but there's things and you really can't see it. You may have seen it like in concept art, but you really don't see where you are unloading. It's freaking awesome, man. Like, that's super cool. And then there's the thing that...
This is where they thought of literally everything. So the new Guardians of the Galaxy coaster that's coming, you know it's there when you get in the parking lot. You cannot, with as massive and as long as this is, to your eye, at eye level, you cannot see where the building is. You can't see where this thing is. So it makes you truly believe it's in space, because it's not like you can see this massive show building and you're like, oh, we're going in there. It looks such a small area, and the next thing you know, you just keep going and you just keep going, and you're like, where is the building for this thing? Because you can't see it. So that's what when I say I cannot think of anything they didn't think of or they didn't accomplish here. Like you mentioned the wind part, no spoilers, but there's an animatronic. I don't even know how the animatronic's motions. I was like, again, is that a real actor? I could not believe what they pulled off from start to finish, from the moment you walk into the gates of Batuu and then get on this attraction and then come off. It just never ends. It is an experience that I don't think words can do justice. And I see a lot of people asking the differences, or, like we always do. If it's the best, take it against the current best. Everybody keeps asking Flight of Passage. It's a tough question, but maybe I'm biased, but I take this. This is an experience that I think is unlike anyone you've ever experienced. And Flight of Passage is next level, but I would say if you had to choose a really long line to wait in, it's hard for me not to pick this one.
So the differentiator between Flight of Passage and here, and I'm going through menopause, so I cry at every Hallmark commercial on TV. I cried. You were there. We recorded it when we walked off. I was struck emotionally by Flight of Passage because I felt that I had the sensation of flight. I can't tell you a character's name. Other than Ripley from Aliens, I can't tell you an actor's name. Oh, no, Giovanni Ribisi. He's really cool. He's in that movie too. But other than that, I don't have an emotional connection to the movie Avatar. Here, I was struck not just because of the awesome size and scale, but because I do have an emotional connection to it, and maybe that for me sort of makes me lean. I also don't want to be I don't want to be sort of captured in the moment, be like, oh, because I just wrote it, it's the best one. I'm trying to sort of think scale of which, I don't know.
From Pandora to this, I lean towards this, I think. But
because of the many steps and stages of it, and I think that's it.
I think once you board your Banshee, that's
your reveal.
It's the best thing ever, but it is
that
is
moment, right.
And then you get off, and then you walk, and then you're...
But even the way you exit, sort of walking down the stairs, you're sort of taken out of that moment a little bit.
This is multiple different style of attractions that they pull off perfect. It's like the perfect dark ride. It is almost the perfect screen motion ride. It is almost the perfect walk-through attraction. Like, they took all the different style of attractions all across the world and put them into one. And then they did each and every one perfectly. It's like better than Star Tours on the motion. It's better than some of the foreign walk-through attractions when you walk through. And then the dark ride aspect of it is, with the sets and the theming, is better than any of the classic dark rides as far as execution. So I think you just get more bang for your buck if you're going to wait 2.5 to 3 hours.
I did almost forget that there's a motion simulator aspect to it too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that the motion isn't as bad as people would maybe think it is when it comes out. But for me, my bar is Pirates in Shanghai. And I'll be 100% honest. I don't know right now what I would put which one over which. And because this is new and it's a shiny new object, I want to ride it maybe a few more times to see if I can make that decision. But it's on par.
So I'll speak to it, right? Okay. Because we wrote it. So my emotional connection to Pirates is twofold.
Yeah.
Riding as a kid and hearing Yo-Ho and the attraction, and then it was both of my kids' first ride. I don't know how it happened. By the way, you slept right through it, but that's beside the point.
I think that was Marion.
So, it's right, go with a different story. So, I don't have an emotional affinity for Pirates, right? The movies are fine. I sort of dropped off around the middle of episode number 2 or number 3. For Pirates, what I remember is there's a moment. There is a reveal moment. Yes, when getting to there is half the fun, but there is that moment, that turn of the scene and the reveal that was the wow. But I had those wow moments,
Over and over and over.
plural,
Yeah.
in this attraction, and I would potentially put the AT-AT alone up against that scene of Pirates.
Interesting.
I would almost put the stepping onto the bridge the same way.
Yeah.
That same sort of feel that I had for it.
Well, I'm a true Libra, so I'm going to be doing this for probably 3 or 4 more years until I figure. I think we need to go back to Shanghai.
I had a
to
feeling
see it
that's what was
again.
coming.
Yeah, so that we can go and compare
I
it.
think we need to go. You're gonna leave me here.
Becky doesn't like
Goodbye.
taking children, you know
What?
that.
That is not the
rules.
case. And if he tells you that, if he ever tells you that again, text me and I will set you right. But yeah.
I think for me, and this is, I think, my probably final thing I can say without spoiling it, is that in 2020 now, we're pretty much in, there are very little new things to experience anymore. And in your pocket is something that we carry around that people 30 years ago would never have dreamed of. You can pretty much accomplish virtual reality. You can do anything nowadays. It's very hard to impress, especially the younger generation nowadays. Nothing can impress them. But this, to me, is a new experience that you can have in 2020. It's new technology. It's storytelling like you've never seen before. You can put on a headset and go to a beach. We put noise-canceling headphones and you're on a beach, right? These theme parks and Disney, they're always coming up with new things, but now the screens have been done. Now the animatronics you think have been topped. But to me, what I think is so mind-blowing and breathtaking about this is that in 2019, 2020, it's an ability to experience something that no one on Earth, to me, has ever experienced before. Storytelling where they place you into a movie where if you would blindfold somebody and tell them, I'm going to transport you and take you to a movie they know nothing about Disney, you plop them on this attraction, I think they'd believe you. I think they'd believe that you actually took them to space and put them into a Star Wars movie. I just don't. I think this is something new to experience in 2019, 2020, and that's hard to do nowadays.
Compare in your mind, apples to apples, the transport scene here, right? I wanted to say it's not Admiral Akbar, but it's a Mon Calamari type person.
His cousin.
Look at that in your mind's eye versus the first time you rode Star Tours, right? And having Captain Rex, right? Accidental, maybe not. The first time you saw Captain Rex and what that was like versus what this was like, and because you're standing there and you feel it sort of shake and shimmy as move as you take off.
You see the animatronics react to it, like what's happening, like
the screens react. Everything sort of. There is literally no detail that is overlooked.
Everything flashes, like they're like, all right, put the shields up, like, and everything goes crazy, and then everything on the screen changes, everyone's reaction changes, like everything changes.
The only technology that we've seen recently that I think not overdid, I can't say that word, strike that, reverse it, try again, was in Japan, in Soarin'. The queue for Soarin'.
Yeah.
That is another piece of technology that took my breath away. And I hope maybe that shows up in places like Marvel and the things that are coming. But I think that's the only thing that came close.
Right, that projection in the queue of Soarin' blew us all away.
Yeah.
If you think some of the digital art on the cruise ships or even stuff that you see in attractions was impressive, Tokyo says hold my sake.
Yeah.
Because
Indeed.
Any final thoughts?
We need to go ride it again and again and again and again and again. Because it's going to be a 6-hour wait for the rest of
Well, I'll be curious to see. So, I want to know from you guys, when are you planning on coming here? And knowing what you know or your level of fandom, how long do you think you would be willing to wait for Rise of Resistance? No, so Michelle, it's not crowded at all. And, to that point, we've talked and there's been a lot of discussion about the crowds. And for some people, they say the lack thereof in Black Spire Outpost. And some people have talked about it as is Galaxy's Edge not performing well? Is it a failure? I think exactly the opposite. I think Disney has designed this place and space in such a way that it spreads the crowds out enough that there doesn't have to be all the crowds sort of funneling into a specific area. There are not 5-hour waits for Smuggler's Run because they designed the attraction appropriately that allows guest flow so that you don't see that and go, I'm not going to wait 5 hours for this one and and 5 hours for that one. That's one of the things I think this land does very, very well. The rumors of a failure were absolutely greatly exaggerated. I think it's much more of a success than a failure because of how well it's doing. This is the thing about, and I won't talk about you, I'll talk about the Disney Twitterverse, as it were. You know, if there's 5-hour waits, then people complain that it's so long. If there are no waits, and Disney has finally found a way to lessen the wait times and improve the guest experience, it's a failure. That's what Twitter does, because it's the Twitter, and when your name is Ronto Roaster 76, it's easy to have that keyboard courage and say things like that. What I think it does instead, it proves that A, Disney listens to their guests. They are continuously improving, and exceeding guest expectations is of paramount importance. There's a lot of things Disney has done and Disney hasn't done. You don't exit out into a gift shop. Yes, the marketplace is right there. And by the way, can you guys get some Baby Yodas in here like stat? Because we need them desperately. How did they not see the Baby Yoda thing coming? You go to the merchandise locations not because you are dropped into them when your attraction's over. You seek them out because you love what you have done watching the TIE fighters fly overhead. Because you see what they've done, and because of the way they make you feel. Disney and the team of storytellers and Imagineers, I think, has absolutely outdone themselves. I am, again, incredibly grateful to you, because if it wasn't for you, I would not be here. Not you. I mean, I'm grateful. Come in anyway. Come back again anyway.
I was just,
Because I am great. Come closer. Not too... Wait, too close. What's that from?
How about this? I have no idea.
Closer, too close.
Wow.
Seriously?
I don't know. Seriously.
What's it from?
Seriously.
Thank you.
What?
Aladdin.
Oh, okay.
Don't say
He's
you
not my
haven't
favorite.
seen it. What?
He's not my favorite.
He is a
I'm
movie,
sorry.
by the way.
Well,
This is what I have to put up with
Wait,
every single day. Ryan, come back in here.
I guess I should
Squeeze in.
make
Get in here. Of
myself
course,
in
man.
here.
I said all of you guys get in here. This would not have been as much fun had we not been able to do this together. I told you this morning. Like, this is something that we're going to have to remember for hopefully the rest of our lives. Remember this when you want a car. This is part of our continuing adventure.
Yep.
Ryan, man, I'm so happy I was able to do this with you because, we are kids at heart who love this and have literally made Star Wars and Disney and all this and these attractions part of our everyday lives. So to get all of your different perspectives was wonderful. More importantly, thank you. I wish you, I'm talking just to you, I wish you were here because it's really cool being up here and I don't want to leave, but because I wouldn't be able to do this without you. And thank you for tuning in, for your questions. If you can, when we're done, do me a favor. If you think you know somebody that might like to hear this or see this, share this out with them. I am going to post videos, which I'd love for you to watch and share out as well. But
Don't
it
spoil
is
it. Watch the videos, just don't watch the ride video.
Yeah.
Don't
Push
watch.
play and close your eyes.
That's like me saying don't book with Iron Mouse and travel for all your vacation planning needs.
Well, you gotta experience this
I know,
one
but if you
from
know,
your own
but if you know
eyes.
you're not going to get here
Yeah.
for some time, and some people
Exactly.
like to see it.
That's
some
true.
people want to see it
That's true.
and know it.
Okay, in that case, fine.
Right. So I will post them again. Watch at your own, based on how you want to enjoy it and consume it. Thank you, Nicholas Peter Mongello.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky Mankin from MEI Mouse Fan Travel.
Thank you. Oh, ouch, gosh.
Brian, where can they find you?
Forcecast.net or Facebook.com/Forcecast. So we got all
The
sorts of
Force
stuff
is super strong. They talk about all kinds of super nerdy Force-related kind of stuff.
We get in deep.
Yeah, and there's lots of. We haven't even talked about like the Mandalorian
No.
yet, and
If they would just play the Mandalorian in the queue,
Yes.
it'd be
Wow.
worth it.
It would,
I
it would
would
go
wait.
like that.
it would.
In-seat entertainment.
Little baby Yoda, little baby Yoda. I love you. I appreciate you. To the spires. I'll see you guys later. It's time for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where I invite you to test your knowledge of Walt Disney World's history or see how well you pay attention to the details, sometimes in what you see, hear, or yes, maybe even taste. If you think you know the answer, you can enter via our online form for a chance to win a Disney Prize package. But of course, before we get to this week's question, we're going to go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week we were talking about the Very Merry Time cruises on the Disney Cruise Line and how one of my favorite activities on board the Dream and the Fantasy is to play the Midship Detective Agency game. It's something that has no additional cost. You can play it multiple times by yourself or with your whole family or friends, and there's different outcomes and even different storylines which can take you through a search for missing paintings, missing puppies, or the stolen show. But on the Fantasy, there's something that makes this game a little different, a little unique, and for me, a lot more fun, because one of the adventures takes you to a very special stateroom on board, stateroom number 5148 and a half. And your question last week was to tell me, whose stateroom is it? Now, I want to first thank the many of you who entered, got this one correct, got creative. No, because the door is really tiny, it's not my stateroom, but thanks for the effort. But the person whose stateroom it really is Peppy, the King Prawn. Now, even if you've never played Midship Detective Agency, or it's not something, you really should go and find stateroom 5148 and a half if you happen to be on the Disney Fantasy, because even the stateroom has its own set of door decorations, which is absolutely hysterical. It is worth going on to Deck 5 to go and find it. But I took all of the correct answers, randomly selected one. And again, last week you were playing for all of my digital products, which was my 7 audio walking tours of the Magic Kingdom's secrets, history, and fun facts, as well as my 102 ways to save money for and at Walt Disney World book, both of which you can find at WDWRadio.com, on Amazon, and in iTunes. A WDW Radio vinyl sticker, pop socket, a t-shirt, and a mystery prize that I had bought back from the Disney Dream. And last week's winner, randomly selected, is Danielle Austin. So Danielle, you sent me your shipping information because you used the online form. I will get your prize package out to you right away. If you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Star Wars-related Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. So we are in Batuu. It's all about your Star Wars story and Galaxy's Edge, but I wanted to keep this one simple and one that I think almost anyone really can answer. You don't have to have ever ridden Rise of the Resistance, or maybe even been to Galaxy's Edge, or maybe even seen any of the movies to either give a good guess or maybe know or Google and figure this one out. Because in Galaxy's Edge, you are truly living your own Star Wars adventure, and along the way, you can meet a number of different characters while wandering the streets. And so this week, I want you to just tell me, name 3 Star Wars characters you could meet and find and take selfies with while wandering the streets of Black Spire Outpost. It might be a famous Wookiee, some members of the Resistance, or the First Order, good guys or girls, bad guys or gals. I want to give you the best, easiest chance to win, so you have until Sunday, December 15th at 11:59 p.m. to go to WDWRadio.com, click on this week's podcast, use the form there, because again, you're going to play not just for all 7 audio tours and the 102 Ways book and a vinyl sticker and a pop socket, but I also picked you up a very special Galaxy's Edge prize package. So good luck, may the Force be with you, and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so very much for taking the time to tune in this and every week, as well as for following along on my adventures in Galaxy's Edge, on Rise of the Resistance. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ridden yet? When you're planning to go? Or if you have any questions about the attraction or land, the best way to do that is in our Facebook group. It's where the community and conversation lives. It's the Box People group at www.radio.com/community. It's a great place to meet and chat with other people in a very warm, welcoming, family-friendly, drama-free, positive environment. So please come by, introduce yourself, and be part of the WDW Radio family. Speaking of family, I want to thank some of the new and longtime members of the WDW Radio Nation family. I am so incredibly grateful to you and for the love and the support and the friendship and the help, and I love being able to give back to you each and every month. I want to thank some of the new members who've joined the hundreds of you who are part of the Nation family, including Sarah Ford, Julie Guevara, Zandra, Todd Braun, and Jana Elias. And if you'd like to find out how you can not only help the show, but get exclusive rewards every month, including scavenger hunts, we have a private Facebook group, custom Magic Band covers, logo gear, backpacks, stickers, monthly care packages from Walt Disney World. We have monthly exclusive live video group calls where you are all on the call together with me, as well as early access and special discounts to special events and lots more. To find out more, please visit wdwradio.com/support. Don't forget, it obviously is completely optional, but it's a great way for you to help show your support for WDW Radio. More importantly, don't forget that a portion of the proceeds of your contributions go to our Dream Team project to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation of America. You can find out more about that over at dreamteamproject.org. Of course, there's plenty of other ways for us to connect. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer on the show, you can email me, lou@wdwradio.com, or if you want to be heard on the air with a question, a comment, or just a hello from the parks, maybe feedback about this or one of your other favorite episodes, you can call the voicemail at 407-900-9391. That's 407-900-WDW1. And speaking of connecting and community and communicating together, I want to thank all of you who came out to our Meet of the Month this past Sunday in Epcot during the Festival of the Holidays. Had a great time meeting up with you at the UK Pavilion, and then even after the meet, spending some more time with some of you as we wandered, really ate our way through the entire World Showcase Promenade and the Festival of the Holidays. Visit the events page at wdwradio.com/events to find out about upcoming Meets of the Month, special events, cruises, on-the-road events, and lots more. I have a number of fun events and meetups planned, not just in Walt Disney World, but as I travel domestically and even internationally. I do a lot of speaking to events and conferences and schools. And if I could maybe come to help present at your event or to your business, even at your school, you can visit LouMongello.com. You can find out some of the different topics that I talk about, including keynotes and workshops about what your business can learn and implement from the Disney parks, including incredible customer service, lessons learned from Walt Disney. I could also speak on social media, live video, podcasting, community, as well as topics geared specifically towards your business, your industry, students from middle school through high school. I can come to your event, to your business, or present virtually. To find out more, visit LouMongello.com. And this week, I'll be releasing information, super early bird tickets, and more for my Momentum Weekend Workshop in Walt Disney World. It is a weekend-long interactive workshop limited to just 50 people in Walt Disney World this fall, as well as my Momentum Weekend Retreat. It's an intensive weekend in a luxury vacation home here at Walt Disney World. I'll be releasing all that information on social this week, so please follow me. I'm at Lou Mongello on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I'll also be sending information out through our WDW Radio newsletter. You can find out more and subscribe at wdwradio.com/news. Thanks as always to Mouse Fan Travel, my official and recommended travel provider. Whether you're going to Batuu, Black Spire Outpost, or any Disney or other destination, visit mousefantravel.com to find out how you can get the best possible prices, all available discounts, all at no cost to you. And then go to celebrationspress.com to subscribe and order back issues to Celebrations Magazine. And as always, my friend, and you are my friend, whether we have met yet or not, all I ask is that you simply please help spread the word. Let others know about the show. How? Tweet out that you're listening. Share a link to this or your favorite episode on Facebook to your friends, on your profile, or in your favorite community. And if you can, take just 30 seconds to rate and review the show over on iTunes. It's incredibly helpful. Thanks to you, we have more than, 2,200 five-star reviews, and everyone means a lot and matters a lot. I want to thank Anthea Variano, who says it's a great podcast. Not only does Lou deliver an amazing podcast, he's also created an incredible community for Disney lovers around the world. WDW Radio brings Disney magic into our home every day, and for that, I am so thankful. Keep up the great work, Lou. And Thea, thank you. But remember, you built the community, right? I just gave you a way and a place to do it. I helped facilitate it, but you and others like you are the ones who helped build it. Zero VJP says it's my go-to Disney podcast. I listen to Lou's podcast every single week. Brings a little Disney magic into my life. Lady Dooley says, thank you for sharing the Disney magic. I hope to meet some box people one day. Lady Dooley, I hope to meet you as well. C. Percy says, In lieu of Disney, LOU, it's a bit of a play on words, he says this podcast is the next best thing. See what I did there? He says, I've been listening for a little over 2 years now. I can say this is hands down the best Disney podcast. Lou is knowledgeable, friendly, entertaining, passionate, and welcoming. Wow, that's so nice. Thank you. He has somehow managed to transform my snowy subway New York City commutes into a magical experience each morning. I look forward to each new podcast knowing that I not only get a taste of Disney, but I'll hear a familiar voice, just like talking to an old friend. That's the entire point. Lou has articulated a trait that I've never been able to describe, which is unapologetically positive, and I've been able to embrace this quality in ways I've previously tried to hide. You go be you, C. Percy. Don't hide it. Thank you for everything, Lou. And hey, you browsing, if you're looking for a safe space for all things Disney, welcome. You found us. So C. Percy, Lady Dooley, ZeroVJP, and Anthea, thank you, and everybody else who has left a review. Just search for WDW Radio on iTunes or go to wdwradio.com/iTunes. It'll give you an exact instructions and details on how and where to leave a review. And finally, most importantly, thank you. Because of you, you have given me so much and enriched my life in ways that you don't know. And I hope that this podcast and the meetups and the community and other things that we are able to do and share together is able to bring a little bit of that to you. And if I can help you some way, let me know. Email me, tweet me, messenger me, go to LouMongello.com, find out some of the different ways that I can work with you and help you turn what you love into what you do. And if you're thinking that, well, there's no way that I can do it, a very wise man once said, never tell me the odds. And I love that because the quote-unquote odds don't matter, right? They're completely speculative, right? They're not meant to dictate who you are and what you do. Just because something might go wrong doesn't mean that it will, right? The only way that you'll ever find out if you can do that thing or make it work is to just go and do it. Take a chance. Take a risk. You will regret it if you don't. And if I can help you, let me know. It actually reminds me of another great man's quote who said, don't tell me what I can't do. It's from John Locke in Lost, the greatest TV show ever, right? Don't tell me what I can't do. Don't tell me the odds. You have the power, the ability, dare I say the responsibility to dictate your own path and your own future and make it as good and as positive and as bright as you want it to be. And if I can help you, like I said, please let me know how. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope that this is your best week ever. So until next time.
Hi, Lou. It's Elizabeth from Massachusetts. I just listened to episode 269 from 2012, so I'm making my way through them. But you did a top 10 about yours and Tim's favorite wow moments. And like always, you asked listeners to call in. And I know this is about a lot of years late, but one of my absolute favorite wow moments has to be at character meet and greets when you aren't exposed to the character until you enter a room or you round a corner. And it is that moment when the cast members lead you to the character and you see them for the first time, that just to me, every single time, it does not matter how many times I've met Mickey or Minnie or Cinderella or whoever it is, but when you turn that corner and see them for the first time again, it's pretty magical. So I think Disney does a great job setting up meet and greets like that, and ever since the new Fantasyland with the Princess Fairytale Hall specifically, I just think they did a really nice job kind of keeping the magic a little bit private until you actually get to meet the characters. So just thought I'd call in. Hope everyone's having a great day. It's Friday, November 1st now, so hopefully everyone had a happy Halloween and was safe and sound as well. So enjoy your weekends. Bye, everybody.
Hey, Lou. It's Christine Morrison from Flowertown, PA. It is 6:45 on Saturday night, and I'm watching episode 5 of The Imagineering, and I cannot say enough about 2 things. Disney Plus has lived up to everything I ever expected. I'm going to watch episode 5 of The Mandalorian tonight with my son. And the Imagineering series is just unbelievable. I hope, this is my hope, that people will watch it and the light bulb will go off in their head and they get it. And they will become hooked like all of us are. And Disney really is a state of mind, a way of life, and it's positive, forward thinking. And I love it. Like, I can't get enough of it. I'm watching episode 5 again. Love Bob Iger. Love him. Anyway, everybody have a great weekend. It's cold up here, but there's no snow, which is awesome. So, Saturday night, I'll see you all in the box on Wednesday. Make somebody smile and have a great weekend. Bye.